and welcome to Thrive After Divorce, the show where we give you the skills to not just survive divorce, but thrive. And we bring in experts and the tools and necessities you need to learn the skills to go out there and thrive. Today we have Tommi Hanley. She is the owner and creator of Pure Power Coaching. Welcome, Tommi.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. You are a certified life coach, empowerment coach, and you've created a highly successful business, which includes your online courses such as Reignite Your Passion. You have a degree in journalism. You have owned a communications company, taught college, owned and operated corporate event companies, or a company, excuse me. And you're also a certified sobriety coach, and you yourself have been clean and sober for 16 years. And you are also a thriver of divorce.
I am. I'm all of those things, which makes me pretty old because, boy, that looks like a long list of things that I've done. So, yes, I am divorced now. Actually, I was separated for quite a number of years before we became divorced, and that's a whole other scenario. And I'm sure some women who follow you have had that experience or are having that experience. But I've been on my own, separated and or divorced for, I think it's close to 15 years now, 14, 15 years. Yeah.
Okay. And I just had this thought. I'm looking at your bio and thinking, empowerment is so important, as we've been talking about. Mm-hmm. And then we also, the idea of sobriety and divorce and the things that can come up. And so maybe if you're open to it, I could have you back for a second time with us, and we could talk about the sobriety.
Sure, because I am definitely an expert on that firsthand.
Yeah. And we could just both touch on that. We both have experienced what our emotions can do with sobriety and numbing out and all those things. And I think that deserves its own. Each of these are so important. They deserve their own light.
I totally agree. Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you. So we will do sobriety on a different day, but just a keynote. It's very important. And if you're going through that through divorce, you are not alone at all. But for today, we can talk about having pure power. What does pure power mean to you?
Pure power means to me that all of the power that I require to live a fulfilling life is within me and is, for me, my connection to my spiritual self.
Okay. And for someone out there that is thinking my spiritual self, and maybe they shy away from that, because I think there's so many other words we can tie into spiritual. What are a few that people relate to?
Yes, my empowered self.
Yeah.
Showing up as the best version of myself. The person who is most loving to myself, self-accepting, recognizing my value, taking the time to take care of myself, which would be mind, body, and spirit. Understanding that the healthier I am, the more I have to bring to, for example, we can get caught up in this as moms. When I take care of myself, I am the best mother that I can be. I am the best partner if I am in a relationship, the best friend, the best sister, the best daughter, and that it's my well-being that will then reflect back to the world how I show up.
Right. And that's, I think if people just realize, use whatever word you want. If you want to say your spiritual self, your highest self, the God in me, whatever resonates with you for this next half hour, 40 minutes, just put that word in, but listen to the message.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think there's anything to be afraid of in terms of that word, however, because we're always agreeing that we are a three-part being. Yeah. When we talk about mental, we talk about the brain,
Mhm.
When we talk about physical, we talk about the body. But
Right.
the difference between being dead and alive is what? It's got to be something, it's that energetic. Actually, there's a good word that I find people resonate with, your energetic self.
Yes.
We are energy, and we know that scientifically. So
Mhm.
there's no real debate around being an energetic being. So when we're not connected energetically to the energy of the universe, to other people, or to the energy that keeps us alive, then we are cut off from our highest self, our best version of ourselves.
I agree. And it's like you're being choked and you don't know what's choking you.
Hmm.
Um, I'm just looking that women can come out of divorce and you've been so codependent on somebody for years and you might not even be aware of your codependency. And now you're just thrown out in this world. What are some of the first tools you would say to start to find your power?
Hmm. Yeah, that's a great question. And as I recall, also very true, because I remember early on being separated and having a lot of those difficult conversations with my ex, where I would hear that messaging from him saying, you're hurting our family by breaking it up. You'll never survive on your own. You'll never survive on your own 2 feet. All of those things. And I do remember at the time buying into that, getting off the phone and feeling so depleted and so awful about myself. However, one thing that I personally started to look at was before I was married, I was perfectly capable of taking care of myself. I had been on my own. I had lived on my own. I had a successful career. I I was very independent, actually. So what I realized was that it grew, that codependency grew over many years. And personally, I do believe that sometimes we don't always get together with our partner for the right reasons. And back in the day when I was partnering up and other friends were, and maybe it happens today too, I'm not sure, is, we get together sometimes partially for financial reasons, for example. All of a sudden, the rent's cut in half.
Yeah, it just
That
makes
looks
sense.
pretty good. That's, I love this person and my rent's going to be half and all those other expenses. And
I
whether
remember
we like
that.
it or, but back in the day, that really mattered. And that's also why a lot of people don't leave their marriages, because they're so afraid of what the financial uh, climate will look like.
Well,
And
some
there's a
people
lot of,
just can't. I mean, they literally can't.
some can't, that's true. And but a lot can, but
Yeah,
still don't, because
right.
they have fear, or because of fear, I think, just fear of the unknown, fear of the unknown. We also fear what other people think of us and things like that. So,
And there's the religious. Some people got married for family and religious beliefs.
true, what other people will think
Not,
in
yeah.
general is a huge one. But once I got on my own, some of the things that I did to start to empower myself, I started to find a couple of new female friends, or I would reach out to current female friends who had gone through a similar situation, or I respected greatly for who they were just generally as people. Again, not falling too back into that whole sobriety thing, but a lot of my life was socializing with people who were sort of successful in the world, but also kind of heavy drinkers and did a lot of sort of partying and stuff like that. And I knew that that wasn't going to be my tribe. That's not where I wanted to go. I kind of felt like I'd been there and I wanted something healthier for myself. So I looked to find connections that were healthier in that way. Um, I did, I didn't seek out any sort of religious path, but I had been, and I continued to read like we do today. I started to read a lot of books. I
Yeah.
started to read Gary Zukav's Seed of the Soul. I read Neil Donald Walsh, Conversations with God.
I love it.
I read Eckhart Tolle, The Moment of Now. All of those, The Power of Now. And I was starting to resonate with a lot of that, which just, I think, subconsciously even was helping me to build my confidence or let go of some of my fears and doubts about what I could or couldn't do. Um, so I think those were some of the initial things that I did. Yeah,
I did those too. I remember reading Conversations with God
I love that
probably
book.
10 years ago. Yeah. And two of the things that still stand out, and I've read hundreds of books since then, but one, when he said that your life isn't falling apart, it's really falling together.
Mhm.
And then there was something, the idea of even a matchstick lights up in all the darkness. Like no matter how small your light is in the moment, it is light in the dark.
Mhm. Yeah, we just need the crack in the door.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
all.
Like no matter what. And yeah, those books. So finding your tribe, that's huge. I'm a huge
Mhm.
believer in community.
Yeah.
And yeah, knowledge is power. So reading those books,
Mm.
changing the things around you, changing your media feed. You probably didn't go through it either. I didn't have the big social media.
No, not at all at that time.
No,
Again, 15 years ago, and you've got, for
right.
me, I had an 8 and a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
I didn't go, I don't think I got lost with my kids, but I worked for myself. So I made sure that when I could, I would volunteer to be, one of the parent helpers. And I drove my kids to school and picked them up every day. I tried to always be sure. We did decide, even as two separated parents, that our kids came first. And I'm so grateful that we did decide that.
Mhm.
So I put a lot of effort there. I didn't really have time for social media, and I thank God for that, because that's a whole other thing that would make
I
some of
yeah.
this even more challenging. I think all those comparisons and thinking that other people are doing it better than you and all that
No.
crazy garbage.
Or
I didn't have to get lost with that.
no.
Also, physical exercise. So I had always, even though I had some very unhealthy behaviors, I had always been quite attached to being physically active. And I never lost that. And I always found it to be something that would help clear my head, make me feel better, because you've got the dopamine and the serotonin and the endorphins and all that good stuff happening.
Mhm.
So I continued always. I also belonged to a dragon boat club. So, that was 20 women paddling a big canoe, a
Oh,
dragon boat. And I was on that team for 10 years. And guess I had been a part of it before my initial separation, but I continued with that. That was also, it was community and it was exercise, and something I would take my kids to, the festivals and stuff like that. So, and they could interact with other
yeah.
team members, families, and so on. So the physical stuff was important for me, for sure.
And choosing healthy habits, it sounds like. So for anyone listening that maybe you physically couldn't do those things, or you're with, everything going on, if even, writing gratitude down each day lifts up your serotonin.
Hmm.
They say, some studies, that it's equal to a walk. It's
Yeah.
it's taking that power to say, I'm changing my habits.
And it helps with and by the way, I've been a journaler since I was about 10
Oh,
years old. So
oh
that's
yeah,
a
you're
whole other thing. And I ended up writing a book early on when I was separated. Again, that focused more on sobriety as well. But and today I journal pretty much every day. So yes, journaling is huge. And gratitude, it's impossible, they say, to feel sorry for ourselves when we are able to find ourselves in a place of gratitude. And I
Mhm.
remember early on somebody, talking to a woman who was complaining about, just everything, her life, and that she had nothing, she had nothing, she had nothing. And my friend said to her, well, do you have a toothbrush? And she was like, well, yeah, I have a toothbrush. She goes, well, that's something to be grateful for.
It is.
The level of gratitude and what we take for granted, especially in the lives that we typically lead, just say a North American lifestyle. And I
Right.
know it can be a lot more challenging for some than others, but all that we have, we often just don't even understand how fortunate we are. So I agree, and gratitude, appreciation for things attracts more of that to you,
It
more
does.
things to be grateful for.
Now, a lot of women or men listening today may have they're thinking about divorce, have gone through one, they're coming out of it. But at the same time, in our age range, kids are leaving,
Mhm.
or for some, they're losing the stepchild that maybe they've raised, or you're coming into that age of, you know, that age in life where you're like, what do I do?
Mhm.
Before our path was set out, maybe like you have kids, so you're going to be a mom. Oh, okay. Or here's my career, I'm starting it. And at 50, you're like, am I too old to start a career? Am I too young to retire? All those
Mhm.
things hit them. And so how do you,
Mhm. Yes. Well, I will, I'm going to speak to the whole career thing because for the majority of my career, I've owned and operated, I think now Pure Power Coaching is my fourth company that I've launched and operated. So I am a bit of a serial entrepreneur. And that was beneficial when I first ended up on my own because I was working for myself and I could have that flexibility and, ensure that I was sort of there for my kids and stuff like that. But in terms of how old is too old? Well, first of all, I think I had an example from my mom because she did become a single parent at around the age of she was almost 40 when I was born. So we left the family unit when I was 13. So she was 53. She had a university degree that she had never used. My dad never wanted her to work, and she never did. And when she got out on her own, she started to work for herself. And I watched my mother. She was a piano teacher, a caregiver. She had three or four different things that she experienced and created for herself. And maybe that was something that stuck with me. But either way, this Pure Power coaching came as a result of the pandemic. So let's talk about people who are maybe thinking about getting divorced, and then we've had all this other stuff going on over these
oh,
last 2 years. Like, I honestly can't imagine. But I had a career job that I was certain I would retire in, quite a high level sales position with a corporate events company. And I moved back to Toronto, where I live now, in 2019 to take I sold my events company to this company and I moved back to Toronto to take a national sales role. And, this is how I was going to retire. And by March of 2020, the entire 40-year-old company was no more. And every bit of
oh,
millions of dollars in business, we'd had a record year in 2018. And by spring of 2020, every single piece of $18 million worth of business was canceled in 2020 for corporate events. The whole industry was completely wiped out. It's hard to even still absorb, but it happened. And then I spent 7 months figuring out what I was going to do. I took a position at Ronald McDonald House and I was a family services manager. And I thought it would be great, but it wasn't really a great fit. And, but I had been thinking about coaching. And so I only started coaching in 2021. And only as a result of the circumstances, whether it's divorce or a pandemic or something that causes a major shift, we lose a career that we thought we would have, or we don't have a career and we're wondering, can we have one? And this work has been the most satisfying that I've ever had. And the speed at which it took off and the speed at which it's been a very big success for me goes to show me that I have this course, Reignite Your Passion, and I
Yeah.
knew that this was my passion work. But if I hadn't been forced to do it, I may have never done it.
No, I know that's
So,
true for me. If I hadn't been forced to be on my own. But I remember thinking back, my girls are now 15 and 17, but they were 2 and 5. And I was
mhm,
a stay-at-home mom. But I remember thinking, who am I? I,
mhm,
for so long, had introduced myself as someone's fiance. Then I was someone's wife. Then I was someone's mom. I didn't have my name. I would
mhm.
just say, I'm Julia's mom. I'm Jake. Hi. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, who am I? I haven't said I'm Lisa in years.
Mhm, mhm. Well, this Reignite Your Passion course that I was chatting with you about, that I
Yeah.
created, and it's a 8-week course. That's exactly what that course does. And it was designed for women between about the ages of 45 and 65 who are facing some major sort of transition in their life. And we look at how their life is in all areas of life today, what it would look like on their 10 on 10 life, limiting behaviors, thinking, all of those things that may be limiting us, and then tons of tools to be able to use and implement to start to change, become aware. Awareness is first, then
Yeah.
we start to make some changes. Then we can really identify what our true passions are because we've forgotten who we are, we
And
go
we've
back.
changed.
Yeah, and in this course though, we ask people to go back and say, what did you love to do when you were a kid? Because sometimes they actually still exist. They may be in a different version of that. But whether you're a writer or oftentimes it does have to do with arts. A lot of women are interested in the healing arts today.
Yes.
And, it's a huge, big growing industry because you can build a business online. And healing arts are just something that are becoming more and more accepted and sought after in the world. They're not as woo woo and, kind of off on the way off on the in left field like they might have been considered 20 years ago. So whatever it is, you can start to identify that, and then we start to build out a plan to actually step into those things. And to me, that's when you step into your power. You step into your power when you own your deepest heart's desires.
So I have a question I've wondered since we started talking before we
Mm-hmm.
started recording. When we talk about taking back our power to
Mm-hmm.
empower ourselves, the power is within us.
Mm-hmm.
And we also take responsibility for the actions we've had or things that we've caused or responded to. What would you say is the difference between responsibility versus power?
Well, I think responsibility is power.
That's what I mean. So that's why I was
Yeah.
like,
So, and we were chatting briefly before, but I remember when I first went on my exploration of this early on in my separation, followed by a divorce. And when it was pointed out to me that I was responsible for everything that was currently in my life and the way that my life was. And I didn't like that idea. And I really wanted to say, well, it had a lot to do with that person and that circumstance and the external stuff going on around me. And even if that's true, I still invited all of those people in those circumstances. It still became part of how I built out this life that I was living. So I was responsible for that. And if you do choose to walk away from a marriage, then my feeling was, well, now I am responsible for recreating a life that I am happy with and satisfied with. I'd watched my mom leave an unhappy, unhealthy marriage, and actually she pretty much went and recreated the same sort of life. And that also stuck with me when I was giving contemplation to my circumstance. And I remembered that.
I mean,
And that
she repeated what she'd
she
already had.
repeated. She repeated. And because she never went and did the work on herself. And
Right.
that includes just taking care of herself. She still was very focused on, and including, she drank lots and she smoked lots. And she was then also a very caring parent. But she really put all of her effort out there onto the parenting. She never stopped. I never once saw her try and quit smoking. I never once saw her try and cut back on her drinking or whatever. She was a lot of fun. She never complained. She wasn't one of those people, but she just never learned how to really, even what it meant to love herself. So part of responsibility is learning how to take care of yourself. And that is your body, mind, spirit, well-being. So whether we like to hear it or not, or it sounds like a broken record, yeah, what we eat, what we do, how we think, old patterned ways of thinking and behaving can be, these are addictive sort of subconscious patterns. To start looking at, how we've been behaving. That's taking responsibility. Not it's all my fault, but what is my part? Because I play a part. Let's say you, X, you played a part, I played a part.
Yeah.
Friends, family, kids, whatever it is, not getting along with my kids. What's my part in that? And, I had a lot of things to fix in terms of how I related and responded to people. I realized it wasn't just my ex that I had communication problems with and a lot of other things, but I had subconscious patterns of behavior, some which came from my childhood and just not being given healthy examples of a lot of stuff that I really had to go and I had to treat myself sometimes emotionally. It looked like I was about 15 or 16 years old. Now that was not fun. I had to, sometimes my kids behaved more emotionally. They seemed to have more stability emotionally than I did. And I had to own that and start to look at it and be willing to figure out how I could change. And that's responsibility. And I think that's the only way you come out of these things on top. Because if you're not willing to go look at yourself and see how you're going to change your own behaviors and thinking and doing, then nothing changes, right? I love that. Was it a book or a saying? Wherever you go, there you are. So for a long time, I didn't know what that meant, by the way. I'm like,
I get it, right?
Yeah. And that's also, we talk about, geographical cures. I move and I move and I move and I move and everything seems to be attracting the same way. Or it really happens a lot with partners. We do end up attracting similar types of partners because we didn't go and understand what our part is in attracting these people. And how do we attract the different ones?
If we attracted the different one, we wouldn't keep them. Because if you're not changed, you're not going to keep that dream person on paper if you're still the person.
That's right. The attraction isn't there. The like is not attracting like. So that's just it. We want this dream person. I don't know if you ever followed Dr. Joe Dispenza, but I follow him a lot. And he's been interviewed a lot, and he'll say one of the most common questions he gets is, how do I attract my perfect partner? And his response is ideal. He says, be the person you want to attract.
Yes. No, you have to.
The end.
Yeah.
And that can be a big task.
It's,
when you write out who you want, and then you go, who am I? Let's see. Or who am I? And then you'll see.
Or I think when you reverse that question, this is who I want.
Yeah.
And then look at who you are. But ask yourself, would they want me?
Yeah.
Exactly. As I am right now. Not, I don't mean it like, would they want me because of my weight or my, but is this person going to be attracted to my list?
Exactly. And I think he also asked that question. Why? Because, would you, I know what he says. Would you want to date you?
Yeah. And there are many times I'd be like, no, I don't even want to be me.
And then by the time you get to be the person who, I would want to date me, then it's not that you don't want to attract that ideal partner, but you don't need to.
No.
You may desire it, and that's fine. But the minute we don't need it, because again, we're just trying to fill an empty space in us, anything we think out here that's going to make us feel better in here is not the solution.
Yeah.
All solutions to fill us up and make us feel fulfilled are right here. And that's the journey, I think. And the day that we feel really good about ourselves and thrilled to spend a night on our own, and which you got to be careful because you can like too many nights like that.
I
But
would say,
very comfortable in your own skin.
yeah.
Then this idea around partnership changes completely. And also another big part of that is, a really healthy partnership is what can I bring to the relationship rather than can the relationship give me.
Yeah. What can I, how
That
can
is
I enhance it?
another major shift. And in terms of being responsible and changing our lives when we leave a marriage, what are you doing to help other people? What are you doing in the world to give back in the world? This is one of our greatest satisfactions. When you go and you give back, you will feel some of the best feelings you've ever felt. Many people don't get that experience either because
No.
they're all about, me in a more selfish way, not me in an empowering way. There's a difference.
Yeah. And there's always a way. Like, I think sometimes we think if we can't do it like a grand way, we just can't do it. Where I'm like, even if you put one extra thing in your grocery cart each week for the food shelf at the end of the month or quarter, whatever, you can bring that bag to the food shelf and it feels good. That's just an example. But I mean, it doesn't have to be a huge donation. It's just,
And it doesn't have to be monetary.
no.
That's an excuse people use. I don't have the money, which
Yeah.
you're right. You probably do have a few dollars here and there.
Something,
But,
yeah.
the first thing that I did when I was very young, like 18, 19 in university, I think I was always somebody who liked to sort of do the give back stuff. I did that when I was a kid, and I do all the walkathons and the food drives and everything, and it made me feel good. But in university, I had no money. But they brought the blood donor, mobile unit to the university. And I started giving blood when I was 19. I just gave my 83rd donation last week.
Wow.
And, that's with all kinds of breaks for having kids and all kinds of stuff. But, to this day, that never cost me a dime except an hour or so of my time. So there's always, we can go volunteer at the food bank to help.
No, there's always, it's a choice and it's power.
Yeah.
Like to take that power to change from I can't to really it's I choose not to.
Yeah.
On a lot of things, not to take away. Some people, there are things we truly can't. But on what we're talking about, even talking about what we attract. So how we met.
Mm-hmm.
And when I search out experts for this show, I really can just look at facts and details and will it marry up? But I swear I get just the most amazing experts. They're always about service and giving, and they're in alignment with my core values.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It just happens.
Like attracts like.
Like attracts like. And I'm thinking of two women right now. All the authors you've talked about, so many of them are published by Hay House, which is Louise Hay, who is no longer with us, but she started that at 48 years old.
Yeah.
And think of at 48, if she would have just thought, oh, my passion, or what am I going to do? And I know she was a single woman. I'm not sure of her background, but look what she did.
Yeah, she had major health issues, I believe.
Yeah, but she took her obstacle and created.
She did, and she started with affirmations. That was her claim to fame when we had really never heard of the word affirmation before.
No,
so she really was the what do we call that? The founder, but
Not like the matriarch or
the
the
matriarch of
pioneer,
affirmations.
the
That's right.
pioneer of it. And
Yeah.
then, it's January 3rd today. I'm not sure when this will go out exactly, but we just lost Betty White
Hmm.
at 99. And I'm like, okay, we all know Betty White could have chosen to probably retire at 40 or 50 or 60, but she didn't. It
Hmm.
was a choice she made, and I believe in her choices. She empowered herself. Look what,
And she had more success probably post 60 than she
yes,
ever did prior to. Correct.
that's how I pretty much know her.
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
Golden Girls or things like that, where now when I look, I'm like,
Yeah. That's really the Golden Girls was the start of her biggest successes, and definitely, I guess she probably was in her 50s or even 60s when she
60s, I
started with
bet.
that. Yeah.
So,
So yeah, she's a real champion for all of us, and yeah, an amazing, amazing woman. Actually, Pure Power Coaching, we're launching tomorrow
okay.
book club. So this is just for community. There's no costs involved or anything like that. I just wanted to build our community. And we're reading Brene Brown's new book, Atlas of the Heart,
I
which
haven't
is a
read that one.
phenomenal book. And I'm building a workbook to go with the book, which I'm really excited about so that people can really, this is a book where a workbook almost seems like a no-brainer
Mm-hmm.
because there's so much in there, and without sitting down and applying it to our own personal experiences, I think it's easy to go, yep, 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 and keep going. But when we talk about how do we build up some of our own personal power, it's by doing deep work with a book like this. So,
Mm-hmm.
and vulnerability is her big thing.
Yes.
And I just finished reading in on one of the pages that with vulnerability, we want to see and we're very attracted to other people's vulnerability, and we'll do everything we possibly can to not let you see my vulnerability. It's really, well, that was a definition of a paradox. But anyway, this is also something that we can do in community when we do a book club or something like that. And mine's pretty full for this time around. But again, if any of your listeners are interested, I've already got the next book lined up, and we'll start, kind of mid-February or so. We'll be done with this one. We'll move on. So this was a way I thought that we could build community and um, empower ourselves and
Yes,
grow. So I'm trying to select books that are all about that, like we started talking about books earlier.
it is. I'm thinking, to empower yourself, you've launched so many businesses.
Mm.
Sometimes it helps me not to see it as myself, but remove myself and like, what would you do if you were launching a business that was you?
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
well, you got to quit doing this if you want to be successful, and
Yeah.
to
And
not like it sounds like be flexible.
yeah. And what I've found is there's nothing that requires more vulnerability than coaching and doing online personal empowerment education. Because without you being vulnerable and sharing your own life experiences, it's ineffective.
Yeah.
So, and you really learn that the more vulnerable you are, the more successful you are. And that people want to know that you're a real human who's done, I've done the gamut of everything. Now, I haven't only been divorced, I've been bankrupt. I've been, I don't know what else. I've been through the sobriety journey. I've had big challenges with my own children, which I've had to work through and come through, and yet I've had all these amazing experiences in life too. My
That
life
led
has
you
been
here.
phenomenally amazing, but I've also had some phenomenal challenges, and it's by sharing that you really connect with other people and you help them come through these types of circumstances like divorce, because we tend to isolate when we are going through difficult times. We're ashamed, we feel guilty, we you know, and that has a lot to do with divorce. And yet when we share, we realize that everybody has been, even if it's not divorce, you learn that other experiences that people have had resonate
Yeah.
at similar level.
Yeah.
So, you know, the more human we are, the better we heal, and that we build that responsibility and our wellness and all of that.
And people, the more open you are, I find people come to you and they'll share with you. Maybe they don't want to share in the large group.
Mm-hmm. And that's why you do the one-on-one coaching. Yeah,
Yeah.
you do one-on-one and group, and then the online learning is a larger community. But what I found, especially with this Reignite Your Passion, these women did not want to stop. You know, in the evaluations, everything was like 10 on 10, except what could be done to improve it. It could be longer.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, because they really, and that's actually with this book club launching, they all joined it because they all wanted to still stay connected. And, you know, of course they can stay connected independently,
But it
but
helps
it was so powerful for them. A lot of the value of what they were doing was that meeting weekly and being coached and being accountable to each other and sharing. And these women, oh my gosh, the transformations that I saw, like I was overwhelmed. I really was. I was like, I cannot believe what I'm witnessing here. But when people come to programs like this, they're all in. You know,
Mhm.
they've made a decision that they do want to do the work and they want the change. And you have to want that. You
You
know,
do.
you have to be all in. Yeah.
It has to be for you, not for someone else. It has to be for you. So tell us about, I know you have your company, you have a new app. Tell
Yeah.
everyone where they can find you and what you have.
I have the app, and so it's purepowercoaching.passion.io. So that is the, you can come to it on your desktop like a website, or to get access to the app, they need to contact me so that I can get an email address and give them a password in. But in that app, I have started to build some free material. So there's a free video series on overcoming fear, which actually could be very beneficial to your
Oh, for
listeners.
sure.
And we have the book club so that people can become involved with the book club. And then we have the course Reignite Your Passion, which will be starting again on February 14th, because this is a
Valentine's
good day to
Day.
love ourselves and
Yeah.
celebrate ourselves. I thought that would be a good day to start, 8 weeks again. And I've built another course that's starting at the end of this month on how to launch and create your healing arts business, and how to build an online course as part of that business. So I'm starting that at the end of January. That was by demand, and realizing I had all these business skills that I could also share with people. So that's another course. And I think that's it for now.
That's a good start.
That's what I'm up to for now, but I'll keep building out more free content within the app. So if people are interested, my email address is, and you can share that at some
Yeah,
point. I don't know.
we'll connect. We'll have all your
You
info.
can put all that, and because I just need, as you know from apps, I don't yet have it in the Apple and Google Play stores because I've just been too busy actually building this content.
Right.
But you can gain access to the app just by contacting me directly. And that's the other thing that I'll do probably in the month of January, is make them available in Apple and Google Play as well, just for convenience sake, to get into the app. But yeah, so it's been quite a journey, and I have lots more ideas for
I'm sure.
content building. I also have a YouTube channel, Pure Power Coaching YouTube channel. There's quite a lot of content up there. And the
Okay.
Facebook page, Pure Power Coaching, and Instagram, same thing, Pure Power Coaching. So, and I try and post a lot of content there too, just inspirational stuff and things to think about and things to share on.
Yeah. And I'm guessing that the content, anyone who's listening could share everything you just said to anyone in their life,
Mm-hmm.
whether they're divorced,
Yes.
younger, older, male, female. We all need to empower ourselves with our pure power.
Mm-hmm. With our pure
Is
power.
something, once you have it,
Yeah.
It's like your faith. Nobody can take it away from you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's a decision. We always have choices. And, I think in this journey, we can take a step forward and we can take a couple steps back. We take a couple more forward and take one back. We do have to be gentle on ourselves as we go through this process, or people give up and just fall back into their old ways of being and really remain sort of stuck. It is a journey to go on to make real change and again, to access and to understand our own personal power. But it's always worth it 10 times over. And again, with community and this whole new online learning world and being connected to women around the world, this first course I ran, we had someone from India, from the UK, a bunch from the US, people from Canada. And that made it so interesting as well. So even though the pandemic made us feel like we're so separate, this online experience really changed, I think, the way the world is going to operate from here on in. And the whole global feeling of togetherness grew because it was a global pandemic. And it was all the things that were happening to me, losing my job, all that stuff was happening everywhere.
Yes.
Not just in Toronto or Canada or in North America. The whole world experienced these things. And in some ways, I feel like we're closer as a result of it.
I agree. I just have one thought, and then I'll give you the final word. But your program is one of the few so far that I've found in this series. This is a great thing for women who may be going through this struggle to pull in a sister or a best friend and do it with them, to do your book club together or to do this together so that they can, because sometimes when you're going through a divorce, you can't always find common things to do.
Yeah. And especially with the book club, that's what's happened is, people have been through a course or they've experienced some of my other work and now they want the book club and they've done exactly that. Can my sister join? Can my good friend join? And, this is again, a place where I can say yes. And it's going to be a lot of fun. It starts tomorrow night. So we meet every other week. For this book, I've divided it up. You read about 60, 70 pages every 2 weeks. And then it goes 4 gatherings every 2 weeks until we conclude at the end of 8 weeks. And we've done the book. And I put some questions out there for people to contemplate, to share on when we gather by Zoom. But and all of that's within my app. So everybody gets free access to that as well. I just need to know that they want to join.
So we'll have all that info for everyone. Your next book club is starting February 14th.
Well, that's the Reignite Your Passion course. Starts on the 14th
course.
again. And the How to Launch Your Online Healing Arts Business, Jan 31st. We're going to finish this book club. I think I've got 2 dates going, so it's around the 8th. But it will be before the end of February, we start our next book, which I also have selected the book. And I don't want to start talking about it because I love the one we're working on, but I'm really excited about the next one as well. And it will be totally different than this one. And yet I think it will be really deep in terms of emotional wellness and so on. And this book, Atlas of the Heart, is all about identifying emotions and putting language to emotions so that we are better able to communicate, which very likely is a massive problem when it comes to difficulties in marriages, by the way, or any other relationships. So this is very appropriate again. I have a few spots open. I don't know when this will air. It might
find out by tomorrow.
Yeah, if it goes up tomorrow, I have it's Tuesday and Saturday that the book club launches. If there was a handful of people interested, they could contact me. And if they wanted to join our Saturday group or miss the first one tomorrow night, I would be open to that. I don't like to say no when we're talking about something, but just see.
My last question on that, I'm thinking for some, it may matter and for some may not, Is it women only?
No, I have men in the book club.
Just so everyone knows what
Yeah,
they're.
I have men in the book club, and I was encouraging men to be in the book club. I don't have many, but I have some. And I also am I am a coach who will also coach men. And I've now had a few referrals, by the way, to husbands of clients. I have. So no, it's not exclusive to women. So I don't know if that's a plus or a minus to anyone.
Right.
I think it's great, but
Yeah, it's just if a man wants to
couple
join,
men.
he knows he's
Yeah.
welcome. If some women are in a space, it just to each their own.
Yeah, and and just so you know, I think I have 2 men on Saturdays and all women on Tuesdays. So it's not, and we've got 10 or 12 in each group. So it's not a plethora of men, but there's a couple, and they're awesome men.
Usually
So
not. There's usually just some fox in the hen house.
yeah, and we can be happy that they're there because this is,
Yeah.
it's interesting to me that women tend to be more open to doing this work
Yeah.
when men and women both equally can benefit from this work. But when we see men stepping up and stepping in, I think it's very encouraging.
Yeah. And they're usually pretty amazing men that show up. I
Oh,
mean,
they
they're
are.
open.
Yeah.
They're,
And there's one who's single.
what was that? One is single. You know what? One of the words here I wrote down that are really, really my aha for this was willing is responsibility. Just being willing. When you are open, just to have that open and not being closed off, you are taking responsibility. And if you were just willing, I'm going to give you the last word, but I'm wondering if willing leads to power.
Oh, for sure. And we have to be willing, or there's no opportunity for change. And you can even start with, am I willing to become willing? We can start, and like you had said earlier, step by step, day by day, baby steps lead to large results. And the other thing I do every day, where I say to myself, I plant a seed, I plant a seed, I plant a seed, I plant a seed. I just do these little things. I plant seeds and then I let them go, and I see which ones take root and which ones don't. And it doesn't matter. Every day I feel like I did a little something. Plus, I do have a ritual. I have a series of 3 or 4 things. I think we should all pick 3 or 4 things that are self-empowering to do every day. Just that's our self-care. And through the Reignite Your Passion course, you get to start to identify which ones resonate with you, and that you start to make a commitment to doing, which allows you to start making those changes. So, and they're very enjoyable. We don't need to be afraid of a lot of this stuff. It's just new stuff.
No, I think you said it best. It's just, are you willing to be willing?
Willing to be willing.
I think that's a great question to leave everyone with, just thinking, because you know what's going to happen if you're not willing. You already have that answer.
Nothing happens.
No, I mean, it's going to stay the same. You know the answer. So if we can pique that curiosity of what is possible if you're willing to be willing.
Yeah. Yeah. And then seek some guidance and support.
Yeah.
Because then you can be willing and you don't really know what to do. And that's sort of the next.
Grow a bunch of weeds.
Yeah. Well, we're in the weeds. We're willing to start, pulling them out. And that's exactly the type of process it is. It's pulling out and getting rid of stuff that no longer serves us.
It is.
And planting new seeds. Yeah.
Yep. Well, Tommi, it has been a pleasure. Thank you for being with us. And I look forward to another talk with you on sobriety.
My pleasure.
Okay.
Thanks a lot, Lisa.
Yep.